Okay, and we're back now. I've completely read the user guide, the instruction manual from cover to cover to make sure that I understand what needs to go on. And a couple of things I'd like to point out, well, a number of things that I was quite impressed with. The guide did really go into detail about the cleanliness and purity of your solution. So it did emphasize a lot of things that I'd like to cover before actually starting my batch. The guide mentioned that the temperature needs to be at least 70 degrees and the water needs to be at least 70 degrees for good production. It emphasized washing my hands before touching any of the components. Everything that we can do to keep the silver solution pure is going to make a big difference in the success or failure of the solution. The next thing I did was I used the brush that came with the kit. I completely cleaned out the production beaker or the vessel that we'll make the solution in. I completely cleaned the storage bottle that we'll be storing the solution in after the fact. And it emphasizes not to use any detergents, only to scrub and rinse using pure distilled water, which is exactly what I'm using. It emphasizes not to use well water, reverse osmosis water, spring water, or anything, only distilled water. The next step that I did, you can see the two silver probes. They are very thick silver probes. It emphasizes to clean those thoroughly, and it says the only thing to clean those with is, I thought this was brass before, but actually it's pure copper. It emphasizes to only clean the silver probes using pure copper, and you want those to be highly polished as possible with the copper. After cleaning those with the copper and removing any dark spots, I took a wet paper towel that was wet, once again with the distilled water, and I did a final wipe down and polishing of the two silver probes that are in there. I rinsed the stopper cap with distilled water, and then I inserted the two silver probes into it. Even though I had washed my hands, I made sure that after cleaning the probes I didn't touch them with my fingers. I didn't want to get any oil or any contaminants on the silver probes, so I held those with the wet paper towel that, as I mentioned, was wetted down with the distilled water. Then I inserted the silver so that only 1/8 of an inch stuck through the top surface of the stopper, and the reason for that is you want as much silver to water contact as possible. The more silver that's in the water, the better our solution is going to come out. And then I lined them up with each other. They need to be parallel with each other. I think they're about 1 inch apart. So I think we're good to go there. Then I took the water, the distilled water, and I used this test meter. Now, they do offer a test meter for sale on the website, and it's exactly the same brand name as this one. I did not buy this from the website. I had my own. Now the website mentioned, and also the guide mentions, that when you buy the test meter from the website, it's calibrated so that it detects the silver content better. Now I don't know, if there's any truth to that or not, but I guess we'll find out after we make the silver solution. But they did mention in the book why it needs to be calibrated that way. But anyway, what I did was I took the test meter and I tested the distilled water, and the distilled water was all zeros, so it is totally pure. And the guide emphasizes that if you have more than 1 part per million of any contaminants in the water, that's not good enough not to use it. So you can have 1 part per million, but anything more than that is bad. Now the water, as I mentioned, it tested at 0 parts per million, so I know that I've got good water. So then I filled up the beaker, and they ask you to have no more than a 1/8 of an inch air gap between the stopper and the water, and that has something to do with, I guess, the SilverLungs generator has some type of electronic circuit or mechanism that senses the silver content in the water, so it has a self shut off so that it automatically shuts off when we have either 10 parts per million or 20 parts per million of silver in the solution. And it has something to do with the auto stop or the auto shut off feature, so I made sure that was how it needed to be. The other thing they emphasize is not to jam the stopper down in there. I simply set it into place. If you jam it down in there, it's going to be harder to pull out, and when you pull it out, there's a chance that any excess silver that's on the probes could be dislodged and enter into the solution and make it a little more impure. But anyway, so it is just set on top. Now, another thing that the guide mentions is this device has a reversing polarity, and what that means is that the two alligator clips that are on top that send the electricity down into the water solution, most of the homemade generators, they have a positive and a negative, and the positive side sends the current down. It goes through, travels through the solution and comes back up the negative side, or actually I think it's the other way around. This particular one has reverse polarity, and it's automated reverse polarity, meaning that one probe will be positive, but after a while it'll switch and the positive probe will be on the other side, so it constantly switches back and forth throughout the silver solution making process. And in doing that, both of the probes should get darker in color as silver is produced and put into the water. That's supposed to provide a better solution. It's supposed to provide you with I guess a more even usage of the two silver probes that are in there. And then you'll notice at the bottom there's a little white thing in there. That's actually a little magnet. It's a stirrer. When we turn this device on, we should see that start going in a circle, and it'll constantly stir the solution. The manual did emphasize that this needs to be clean, obviously, since it's down in the solution. So I cleaned that really good with distilled water, making sure not to touch it with my hands. I used a wet paper towel, again wetted with the distilled water. So the stopper's in, my probes are connected, so I think I'm ready to go. Now, one other thing back on the back of the unit, I think I mentioned before, there's a setting for low power and high power. We're going to be making a 20 part per million solution, so I'm going to switch things over to high power here for my first batch. I think the final thing I need to be aware of is when I turn it on, if at any point in the process, if I notice the solution getting cloudy, that means that I've got something contaminating the solution, and at that point there's no point in going any further. I should just throw it away. So we're going to go ahead and turn things on, get it started. I understand it's going to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Right now the light on the front is blue. I'm trying to get things turned on back here in the back. There we go. We're set on high. I see the magnet stir started doing its thing. So I guess what we'll do is we'll come back later on and see if anything's happening. And once it automatically shuts off, I guess we'll test the solution with the meter to see if things did work the way that they're supposed to work. So we'll come back in just a little while and show you our results.